left, right.
Yo, what's up? Thank you for joining us today. Well, if you missed in the news, Tiger Woods ran off the street in his Genesis SUV. We're going to kick off with that. We'll take it from there. Let me know what you think at the end of this episode. We kind of shot the shit. We didn't have an overlaying topic. So I'm curious if you like it or not. Let me know. Have fun. See you. This is SipTalk. Grab a drink and enjoy.
Where's this going?
Cheers.
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 This is episode 80 of Sip Talk. Thank you for joining us. We're going to make some drinks. We're going to start discussion. We have a lot to talk about. None of this pre-discussed, so we're going to roll with it. I do want to get started talking about Tiger Woods specifically because the type of vehicle that he owned and the fact that we're visited by David Boswell. You did work at a Hyundai dealership, right?
I worked at a Mercedes-Benz, Porsche, and other fancy car dealership for a number of years.
We'll talk about cars in a second. Let's start in the bottom. Welcome, James. James, the Bosnator Boswell, out of Charleston, South Carolina, professional referee, accountant, philosopher, and bartender. James, what do you have to drink down there?
I didn't have a time to do anything besides grab a beer. I had to work, and then I had a college soccer game that I had to officiate, and I haven't even had a chance to shower. I'm wearing exactly what I wore walking out of the locker room.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I can't smell you.
Yeah, that's good for you because I can smell me.
So I think right off the field, a drink couldn't hurt. David, what are you drinking out there? And remind me where you're in Sacramento?
Sacramento, that's correct.
Sacramento, California, on the left coast.
Oh, yeah. I've got a Firestone Walker Luponic Series IPA, which is actually quite nice.
Yeah,
what does
grocery outlet had it.
mean?
Luponic. Luponic. Like, I feel like they're trying to go like lupine, like wolves and stuff. I'm not really sure what they're trying to go at there, but there's it's a nice hoppy IPA.
Oh, it sounds to me more like the plague.
Well, the title I think is questionable. All right, look, guys. So I'm gonna make this
Luponic plague.
I'm gonna make this drink, and we're gonna get rolling. I'm going to make a Negroni, one of my favorites. I'm doing this in the basement, so I got what we got in the basement. Gonna hit a little Campari. And I'm running low on Campari. So the thing about having a bar at home is that, nobody wants to finish their own bottles. So what I find happens a lot is I get a bunch of bottles and then I milk each bottle. So I get like 5-6 of the way through a bottle and then I just don't touch it. And then I move on to the next bottle. I get 5. And then I end up just with a bar full of bottles that are near empty. So I'm trying to transition into this, just kill the bottle and buy another bottle, rather than kind of milk the hell out of each bottle and
Pour all of them together.
I mean,
and just make whatever abomination of a cocktail results.
When I get down to the fifth of the bottles there,
yeah,
I may do that. Who knows?
Honestly, just call it cancer.
I'm in the basement. I have 1, 2,
cirrhosis,
3. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. 4, 5. I have 5 boxes of bottles. Champagne, wine.
You just crack an egg in there to emulate like the yellowing of the liver.
Yeah. Well, if you separate it out, you can make a cirrhosis fizz with the egg white and then add in the yolk.
I want to talk about
cirrhosis.
Heavy and regular drinking. All right, where's the top of this thing? Unfortunately, this shaker kind of blows, so I'm just gonna lightly shake it because it leaks all over the place. These are the worst shakers, I have to tell you. But
it's more like a stir, a really inefficient stir.
It blows. It looks cool. But honestly, if you're gonna like shake the hell out of these drinks, I think the seal is just weak on it.
Yeah, you just need the two tin shakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, tin shaker definitely.
They don't look as
better.
fancy on the bar stand, but they're so much better.
I like the metallics on the bar stand. All right, so here's my Negroni. That's 1/3 Campari, 1/3 sweet vermouth, and 1/3 gin. I used a Tanqueray. All right, let's see.
All right,
And
so
then-
Tiger Woods. So first of all, it wasn't a car he owned. Hyundai was sponsoring the tournament, so they gave him a loaner vehicle.
All right, I want to talk on that, but 1 second. I have my
Did
dried.
they get their money's worth?
I got my dried.
Is this good
orange
advertising?
flakes. So
No,
but that's
press is
but that-
bad press, except for your car company. He crashes your vehicle, but people are talking about Hyundai.
let's
They got
get
me.
there. So so he did Buick for a while, right? Or Oldsmobile. He had this.
Yeah, Buick and
Super
Oldsmobile.
white,
Yeah,
old
it's super
people.
old.
well, obviously golf is a young person sport. So if Tiger Woods is driving a Buick, obviously they have their target audience. Golf is not a young person sport. I actually don't. Maybe I know some people that golf, but it's not in my world.
I play
Like-
golf.
Right.
I guess like play. Because like if you see me on the golf course, sometimes you're wondering. I'm not really sure what sport he's playing. He has a general concept of what he's supposed to do. It's going in that direction.
I like the driving range. I could do that and have a few beers, but like you have to walk around. It's very you don't get that far from the bar, and like you can just stop at any point. You don't have to walk all the way back. There's no golf carts.
You would like bowling.
I hate bowling.
Why do you hate bowling?
It's something. I think I was just always bad at it as a kid. And like I've just kind of been like people suggested. I'm like, nah, let's not do that. But it just makes me think of like chubby parents in the
When
80s.
we were kids going to bowling alley birthday parties, you had the crews that were there all the time smoking and drinking.
I
the
was just gonna
pictures
say.
2 lanes over from the 8-year-olds having the birthday party. I was born in 1990, so this isn't that long ago.
So, but I was going to say smoking. Yeah, back then you could smoke in bars. So obviously times have changed. I miss the smoking in bars. Actually, I'm not a smoker, but I miss the smoking in bars. To me, it's just kind of like setting the scene. And
I like what Gaffigan has to say about bowling. It's a different kind of sport. It has an ashtray built into the scoreboard.
that is.
And
That is
also,
true.
like, there's two types of people. There are people that really like bowling, and then there's. Wouldn't it be hysterical if we went bowling right now?
I don't. What is that like when you're just hammered and you're like, we need something to
Sarcastically going bowling.
Yeah.
What would be really stupid? Let's go bowling.
do. Okay.
Fuck you. All right, I'll do it. If you're going to be unpleasant
yeah.
with it, I'll be unhappy with it.
Yeah, I'm in.
All right. So we're bridging.
I'm not happy until you're unhappy.
We're bridging two topics, the Tiger Woods thing, but also what I wanted to get into when I was talking about drinking is,
Well, bowling is kind of on topic here.
well, hear me out. So
Thank you.
I think drinking gets really frowned upon. And drinking is, for me, it's like a pastime. I would almost call it a sport. And
Who wins?
I do
How?
in the moment. The next day, maybe not so much. I don't get that hungover actually lately, but I like to, spend like a Sunday just bar hopping, or just trying out different drinks. And, I don't drink really to get drunk, but I definitely drink a lot. Like I drink kind of anything that's in front of me, like a Gatorade at halftime. But that's, more of a personal flaw. But I think drinking gets frowned on so much. And I think it's really something cool to do. It's almost like cooking, except your stomach doesn't get as full unless you're drinking heavy beer. But I don't know. I feel like, James, when you come and visit New York, we just kind of bar hop every single night until 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, the last couple times that I've been in New York, I really alternate between two states.
Which are New York and New Jersey?
No.
Oh.
No, between drunk and hungover. And usually when I'm hungover, I want to just not be drunk. And then you say, James, it's 8 o'clock. You're still hungover. Drink. I'm like, I can't. And then an hour later, I'm back to state 2.
Yeah, but
New Jersey?
I enjoy
Then we make it there
cocktails.
later.
I enjoy cocktails. I enjoy hanging out and visiting bars and just kind of chilling. And I think a drink is a nice thing to do that with. And I don't know. I try not to drink too much. Obviously, I think our sip talks are actually a very good. There's some nights that we can stay on, for a couple of hours and have 5 or 6 drinks, or there's some nights where we have a drink or two and we close up shop. But
I've been keeping it to 1 or 2 beers recently, but I remember on the election night I was probably at like 8 to 10.
yeah, I think I was drinking blue margaritas
Yep.
and red beer. I mean, I had a lot that night. But I don't think it's one thing if you're doing it all the time. And there's been times in my life where I've drinking quite a bit, but on a regular basis, I don't do that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But when I tell people, yeah, I'm going to be drinking on air for 2 hours, people are like, oh, you can't. That's terrible. You can't do that.
Like last time it was 3.
But I don't see it as a terrible thing. Nor do I think of the consumption of. It would be like a smoker who had like 2 or 3 cigarettes every few days. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I don't think that's how you drink.
Was there an issue that you were doing it on air? Because otherwise, like, yeah, I'm just be drinking for 2 hours tonight. Is that better?
I don't know.
Philosophical question. Does this count as drinking alone?
No.
I mean, you could ask that at any point in time.
Sometimes the answer is a little clearer,
especially if you're very introverted. So look, so my thing about Tiger Woods is this. So this guy basically, they're giving him this car. Tiger Woods. You take a celebrity and put him in a car, and it wasn't even his car. So he's driving around this car. It's supposed to be. He's going to be promoting this vehicle a little bit, but the fact that he's
counted to win.
The fact that he gets in a car accident with the vehicle, and it was a Genesis SUV, right?
Yep.
So that's what I wanted to pick David's brain about a little bit, is that Genesis is kind of a spin-off of Hyundai.
It's their luxury brand.
It's their luxury brand, but it was a model under the Hyundai brand, basically, and it was a successful brand. They branded it as one of their luxury models, and now they turned it into a fleet of vehicles. So they have sporty 2-door cars, and then they
don't have any 2-door cars in current production. My car, the same one that James had, I don't know if he ever showed you that. Mine was just the slightly newer version of it, the Hyundai Genesis Coupe. That was when it was still under the Hyundai umbrella before it was truly spun off into Genesis as a brand in and of itself. Still sold at Hyundai dealerships, but not under the Hyundai umbrella so much. I don't know if that really makes sense.
What year was yours and what color? Because I want to get a good idea what it looks like. I'm searching it here.
2013 Genesis Coupe Track, and it's the silver.
Okay, I'm not going to type a color. I feel like that'll come up naturally. I'm going to throw it on the screen here. I actually am a big Hyundai fan, just from working at a car rental place where you're driving literally every car under the sun. And the Hyundais, I actually was like, these cars have been. James, you had the Hyundai way back, right?
So I had 2 Hyundais when I was in high school, and then I actually had a Genesis Coupe up until 2 years ago when I wrecked it.
Ooh,
stupidly.
Well,
what was the second Hyundai? I remember the green Elantra.
They were both Elantras.
They were both Elantras. Wrecked both of those too. I don't have a good history with Hyundai.
So we got. I'm throwing these. If you're watching,
but that's not Hyundai's fault. That's my fault.
If you're watching on TikTok or if you're watching on Facebook, I think you can see the Hyundai online. It's this Genesis Coupe. It's a 2-door car. Almost looks. It almost looks like a nicer. What's the sporty Subaru?
The Subaru BRZ.
But it's a mean looking car. This one has some hood intake, air intakes on the hood. It's a slick looking car. Yours had the air intake on the hood?
Mine didn't. Derv's does.
James didn't. That was a 2013 and newer edition. They're fake. It's just a aesthetic thing. But here's where they made the difference between the 2 years. The 2-liter turbo went from 210 to 275 horsepower. And then the 3.8-liter V6 went from 305 to 348, which is what I have. And it's rear-wheel drive and a stick shift, which you can't find anymore.
It's really hard.
The fact you can't find a stick shift car is
stick shift and rear wheel drive. You're paying a lot of money for usually.
I got the truck as automatic, even though I really wanted to do a manual truck because I love driving stick shift. but I was just like, I'm going to need other people. I'm basically buying it as a work car. And since no one else can drive stick, pussies, since no one else can drive stick, just I wouldn't have as much utility. So it's a lighter vehicle, right?
My car's quite heavy, actually. It's knocking on the door at 3,800 pounds.
Oh, it's got a big engine, right?
Yeah.
For a little car. What's a max speed that you've hit in?
That I've hit in it, probably around 120.
Did you
as
feel,
much
you
as I
still had some power,
Oh,
you were just
Oh, it's got legs.
Laws?
The times that I had this opportunity was when I was coming cross country, but I did the road trip with mom, and she wouldn't have been terribly amused at going. She didn't like it when we're going 85 or 90. So okay,
Yeah.
But we played a game.
Sure
we're like, hey, where's the turn in the road? Oh, only 3 miles. 11 miles later, Jesus Christ, you were going straight for 11 miles. It would have been nice to have a Tesla for that, but not so nice because you'd have to stop all the time.
Yeah,
just the autonomous driving.
Yeah, I'm afraid of that. I haven't been so the Audi, we got a Q5. Yeah, it's a Q5. It's got a lot of bells and whistles, but it's cool to drive, but I still I need like an older vehicle. This one's not stick shift. You can put it in the Tiptronic mode, but it's not the same. It's a different engine, different transmission. Well, I think it's the same engine, but different. It shifts differently. There's no clutch. And I think engaging the clutch and shifting is a big part of driving. It's just, I don't want to push a button. It's like a video game.
Yeah. 993.
But 993 is what I aspire to. But that's also air cooled, right? All the 993s were air cooled.
Yep.
And they stopped production in 96, I think.
96 or 97.
Yeah. But I would definitely. So the thing is about going with an older car is it's mechanically not as sound. You're not going to get the same top speed. You're not getting all the safety specs. You're not getting.
You
all
don't
the tech
care about top speed. You're in a 993.
Exactly. But yeah, man, I want a sports car again. I really miss it. That was probably the biggest thing I lost during coronavirus. But either way, yeah. So Tiger went off the road. I heard there were no skid marks. I don't think the guy did it on purpose. I think it was a celebrity. He was probably drugged up a little bit because I feel like the majority of celebrities are on some type of antidepressants, and because they don't live in the real world. And he went off the road. Do you guys know anything more about the situation than that?
Police report indicates no substances or anything else like that. So they've classified it as an accident and like no charges or anything like that. It wasn't reckless driving. There was no substances or anything. It probably is he just misjudged the road.
I heard Bruce Springsteen got pulled over a couple weeks ago for driving under the influence, reckless driving. And then I heard this morning on the news that he was at 25% of the state level. So he was at like 0.02, and they dropped the reckless driving charge. Like what?
He pleaded to drinking tequila in the park or something.
But he was at like 25% of the limit, which is nothing. That's like
that's one drink.
Yeah.
They say 0.02 per
one
drink. Right?
No,
Sure.
I think
It depends on body weight, but that's probably a decent estimate.
But he's also Bruce Springsteen. I don't know. Also celebrity, probably doesn't live in the real world, probably drinks a fair amount. So probably decent tolerance. But either way, I don't know how that became news. And also why the cop like booked him on all this shit when I imagine he was in fine shape to walk away from the vehicle. I don't know. I need to take a break. I think we talked about this. David, you weren't here. James and I, where I said I may just do like news once a week or just print news or something like that, because all this bullshit filler news is like just total non-news.
Oh yeah.
Hey, our hard-hitting news topic from last week was Gorilla Glue. So
fair enough. You heard on current topics, because again we don't have really a theme for tonight's episode, but you heard that Lady Gaga's dog walker got shot, and he's walking I think 3 dogs, and they stole 2 of the dogs, and she's offering $500,000. She's offering $500,000 to return the dogs.
What about the guy who got shot?
Well, he got shot in the leg, and I watched the video.
Oh, okay. So let's just not care about it. It's in the leg. Like, you want to get shot in the leg, dude?
I'd rather get shot in the leg than anywhere else, I guess. Maybe the arm. But so I watched the video, and the standout for me, and I don't mean to be a dick. I mean, maybe.
But here you go.
But the
But you're gonna power through it.
Yeah.
So the standout for me, the guy, he's struggling. He was a gay guy. He had a very high pitched kind of scream. And I mean that I don't mean to. I don't, sexuality is not really anything that concerns me, but he had this high pitched scream, and then he got very low and kind of throaty after he got shot and he was on the ground, which I also thought was a little weird, unexpected. But he was shouting on the street, "They shot me in my leg hard."
Dude, I'm not going to judge someone for how they react to getting shot.
Yeah, I mean,
that seems like punching down.
All right. Well, either way, he had a real high pitched voice, and then he got, I don't know. It was just when people fall, and then the people that see the person fall laugh, and they don't feel good about the fact that they're laughing, but it was humorous.
No, I do. If someone falls in a hilarious way,
it hurts, and they're sad, and I feel bad for them.
Dennis Leary.
Well, but either way, again, the guy got shot in the leg. He's okay, as far as I know. Obviously, I mean they're reporting news about Bruce Springsteen blowing a .02. So if they haven't reported that this guy's in bad shape, I imagine he's probably doing okay. But so there was a level of humor to it, but because I got shot in the leg real hard, which I
think
thought
there's more humor in the fact that they decided to steal the dogs.
Well, I mean, maybe they're
why
at some point the money.
They're French. They're French bulldogs. They're expensive breeds. I don't know. There's the Seven Psychopaths. It's about these couple of guys in Hollywood that steal famous rich people's dogs and then ransom them back or find them when they put out the missing posters, return them for the reward.
Oh, I remember that
business model.
That takes place in the desert.
It's a good movie.
That takes place in the desert, and
it's Hollywood. Hollywood. The finale is in the desert out there, but I don't want to give any spoilers away. But it's very recommended.
Well, since we're on the topic of dogs,
no, this was all right. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. So I'm actually a pretty big dog person, not hyphenated. I like dogs. I usually get along with them really well. They usually always love me, even when they don't love other people. So I'm having a good night the other night. I was texting a girl that was actually putting up with my stupid jokes and seemingly laughing at them, which is increasingly rare. So I'm in a good mood. I'm going to go to the grocery store and I'm going to get some stuff to make dinner and grab a bottle of some liquor. And I'm walking down our street, and out of nowhere, 6 feet away on the sidewalk, a dog just jumps out, bites me in the arm. And
so you guys, if
I didn't see
hold that a little closer to the camera. If you guys can see this, if you're watching us, David's got quite is that a bruise? Is that a bite mark? It's a huge bruise. What's that? 3-4 inches wide?
Center.
And the dog was just humping you.
About 3 inches wide.
The dog was just humping you.
Well,
grinding away.
It didn't get a happy ending, and it certainly won't, depending on how the animal control investigation goes.
Wait, so the dog bit you? That's a bite mark?
So yeah, that's a bite mark. I was walking by and I thought the dog just lunged at me, and honestly, I was happy. The dog lunged at me. I don't really care. I get another 10 yards down the street, and my arm hurts. I pull up my sleeve. The fuck?
That's adrenaline, the body's response to just the incident, which is wild. That's how that works.
It is.
And then you get down, and the actual pain starts to set in. So the dog nipped you and bit you, and he just kept going.
It's more than a nip.
He was just standing there. It was outside a coffee place. He was standing on the sidewalk holding the dogs, looking at his phone, not paying attention. He said later verbatim, "I'm sorry, I wasn't paying any attention. I don't need that for whatever I'm going to pursue because California is strict liability. So he's at fault no matter what, but it doesn't hurt that he admitted to it already." Anywho, if he had just not been looking at his phone and had the leashes not just in the loop, if he had actually held the leashes and the dogs by his body, this never would have happened. But the dogs had all 8 feet of the leads to jump across the sidewalk at me. I wasn't close to them.
I mean, I
was pretty far away.
Were these baby dogs? Were they a few months old?
No, they're probably about 50-pound mixes. I mean, not like big dogs, but not small dogs, like 40, 50
Okay,
pounds.
but they weren't like adolescent type animals.
No, they were at least 3 to 5 years old, if not older. They weren't puppies.
Then, dude, I feel like I'm on mushrooms. Like you're just changing colors.
Oh yeah, I can turn that off.
Do you mind?
But no.
But what I imagine is that this is not the first time these dogs have misbehaved. I mean,
I don't know.
did you have some type of smell on you? Did you had like you rub steak on yourself or something?
No, I hadn't.
The
I was actually
grocery
going to
market?
the store because I was hungry. Yeah, it was before the grocery store.
And
I wasn't even carrying anything that smelled good.
yeah, so that's the thing.
Yeah.
I see in New York City, which is totally, when it comes to the real estate side of things, a city that is not dog friendly, but then somehow all over the place are dogs, especially in the morning. The building I just moved out of, in the summertime, it just reeks like dog piss because there's 3 towers. They're 40 stories high, and each floor is huge. So it's effectively a 120-story building because they're all going through the same entrance. So 120 stories worth of apartments all let out. And all these, I mean, sometimes there's piss in the fucking elevator. There's piss in the hallways. And I would say whenever I see that happen, the owner just keeps walking. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes me want to punch people in the fucking teeth. But they all walk outside and the dogs piss in the street. And every once in a while, I witness a dog like confrontation thing where the dogs bark at each other. Sometimes they attack each other. I don't know. I grew up with golden retrievers. You guys, I don't know if you were kind of out of the house by the time your parents got the dogs. Maybe not. Maybe the tail end of your childhood, right? Your parents have some labs.
James more so than me. I was around with Lily and Ralph, and Lily passed away a couple of years ago, but they still got Ralph, and I was there for when both of them joined the family.
They buried her or they stuff her?
They didn't stuff her.
No, I don't. I mean, I feel like people stuff dogs. I don't.
That's super weird.
Well, I mean, it's something people do. But I'm sorry to hear of the passing of the first dog.
She was a good dog.
But I feel like they weren't aggressive breeds. Did they ever bite anybody?
Casey.
Yeah, but he deserved it.
They bit you.
So great. Hold on.
Well, what I want to
we're going
get
the
at,
same direction here.
What I want to get at though is
social hierarchy of the family.
Yeah.
Well, the dog's got to dominate somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Lily knew that she was above Casey.
That's a shame.
Because she saw how we treated Casey. She's like, I'm above him. They treat me better. I get food when I ask for it.
So James and David are in that order. The two and the first and second, and of 3 brothers, and the third brother definitely gets the brunt of, well, I don't know what you'd call it, but the brunt of kind of life from the 2 older brothers, which is rough. I definitely
no. He gets the equal amount. He gets the same amount that James and I give each other,
but
it's really very equal.
Times two.
He just needs to step up his game, so it's more egalitarian.
Yeah,
It's
we
not-
tried.
If it were 3 equal forces, it would be triangular. It wouldn't be an obtuse triangle.
But he is.
It
obtuse.
is. Yeah, it is. Either way, though, is my point is that people and their dogs, I think, and this is my thinking on a lot of pet owners, because I witnessed the people walk their dogs outside, and then they'll walk and we've talked about this a million times on this podcast, but they walk down the street, they walk their dog up to somebody else. They're not looking at the other person. They're just looking at the ground. Their dog goes and rubs up against the other dog, sniffs some ass. The other person's not engaged either. They're just standing on the sidewalk holding the leash. And then the first person talks to the other dog as if they are their dog. And then the other person talks to the first person's dog as if they are their dog. It's a weird thing, but the people just kind of like, they have these puppet dogs and they talk to each other. But anybody who's watching, I see this often. Anybody who's watching this is just like, bro, like, you're talking like you're talking to the person that's away from you, and you just look like an idiot talking to them in this funny voice. It's a very weird behavior, very weird social behavior. I don't quite understand, but people, I think, oftentimes fool themselves with the personality of their pet. There's a word for it. Either of you?
I'm blanking. I have no idea what you're talking about in terms of
where people personify an animal.
Anthropomorphization. Anthropomorphization. That's the word.
That sounds
Anthropomorphizing.
Anthropomorphize. I think I got that right.
Is to assign human characteristics to a not human thing. Human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they develop this whole character for their dog, but oftentimes it's in their head, obviously.
Yeah, the word that was coming to mind for me was infantilizing. Where
I'll say yes with a high voice, but
yeah,
different things going on here.
We're on the same track.
You're kind of parallel there. But it's just, I think the point is that people fool themselves, and the dog's personality is the personality of an animal, a well-kept animal, domesticated animal, but it's still an animal. And if your dog's biting other people, like, this is a problem animal. And I don't know. I mean, when you said that, I was about to say animals should be shot, but then I felt bad and I didn't say it. I was like, well, probably this guy loves his dog very much.
I'll pull the trigger.
Even though the dog bites people. All right, let me hit some comments real quick, see what we got. I did see, I want to do a shout out to Debbie Ferry here, who lit up our Instagram page, the SipTalk Pod, at SipTalk Pod on Instagram. David, you follow that?
I think I am. You need to figure out how to broadcast on both of them, because I could only find it the night when Facebook was down on your personal one.
Yeah. So we do the personal one, but you got to follow, if you're listening to us, you have to follow the SipTalk Pod on Instagram. We're working on building out the brand. We're going to do some cool stuff with the branding, actually, because I love the fact that this is effectively like we have a long way to go with the podcast and the branding of the podcast. So there's a lot of cool things we could do. We just started a separate Instagram page for it, so follow that so we can continue to throw some content out there. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm just using it to showcase each individual episode, and then once we get caught up, because this is the 80th episode, once we get caught up to date with the episode covers, we'll keep it up to date, and we'll throw some more content on there, which will be cool. And we'll throw some questionnaires out, what people want to hear. But we get a lot of feedback from the audience on Instagram and TikTok. So let me just hit some comments real quick and see what we got. Obviously, we're kind of shooting the shit. So let's see. So we got blondes have more fun. I had 2 shots of tequila and didn't pass the field sobriety. Sorry.
Well, if she's smaller, if she's like 100 or 110 pounds, then 2 shots goes a lot longer.
Well, sure. And tequila is definitely fuerte. So
yeah, but all that matters is proof.
But
80 proof tequila is the same as 80 proof vodka.
If you didn't pass the field sobriety, I imagine that to have been a rough evening, or afternoon. Maybe it was tequila at brunch. I don't know. So
it's an interesting brunch if you're drinking straight tequila.
Well, yeah, I would definitely say it would be more interesting that way. Let's see. Yeah, so let's see. What else we have here? James, your freaking towel has been in that door for weeks. We all know the condition of James' room is in rough shape. We got
it's going to be changing soon. As soon as I first of all, it's not even my towel. That's Ovejos.
I don't know what that means.
Casey,
okay.
youngest brother,
okay.
And I'm aware that the room needs to be fixed. It's going to get fixed by virtue of my move to a future house. So.
So let's give a shout out real quick to Lisa. She said, "I'm drinking with you. If that makes a difference, it makes a difference to me."
It does.
We got Hannah Moon says she loves to drive a stick shift. I think she had a Porsche actually. Tax report's not back, I don't think. Let's see. That was Springsteen, not me. Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, James, you remember the night that I didn't pass the field sobriety test. I passed the breathalyzer, but not the field sobriety test.
I remember this night because you went out somewhere, and I was like, all right. I was just hanging out at home. I didn't go out that night. You went out somewhere, and I feel like it was like a Friday night, and you didn't come back. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, I've seen this before. And then you didn't come back until
wasn't that fun of an evening for me?
But I didn't know what happened to you because you didn't call or text me or anything. So you don't come back by like 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning. Nothing happens. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. And then at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you give me a call and you're like, can you come pick me up on Leeds Avenue? I was like, I was expecting this.
Leeds Avenue is a rough avenue in North Charleston.
It's like, if you'd come back before like noon or whatever, I would be like, oh, he had a pretty good night.
And
but by the time 2 or 3 o'clock rolled around and you gave me a call, I said, I had a feeling that this was going to happen.
Really?
Because, yeah, it's if you spent the night out and you stayed over at a friend's house or whatever, you wouldn't have been there until 2 or 3 o'clock.
Yeah, well, unless they cook me a nice brunch, a couple of shots of tequila, always important for a brunch for me. Yeah, that was a rough. So what happened was I.
This is why your Jeep had no brakes.
This was when the Jeep had no brakes. Wow, that's nuts.
It's the proximate cause.
People don't believe me. I just feel like when I talk about this Jeep, that there was kind of 2 points in time where it had no brakes, and by no brakes, I mean like legitimately no brakes. You could pull the emergency brake, and it was. I think, James, you put this well. It was about the same as a strong headwind. Mm-hmm. Like it did absolutely nothing. But either way, I went out with some people from work. I didn't have very much to drink, and it wasn't even that late. It was like 8:30 at night. I had a couple of drinks, and then I got pulled over, I think effectively for like changing lanes after the dotted line stopped and it became a solid line, but I kind of crossed as it was ending.
I thought it was because you blew through a red light because you couldn't stop in time.
I mean, that's possible, but at
least he's not denying it.
I mean, this is like 12 years ago. But either way, I hadn't had that much to drink. So the cops pulled me over and they asked me if I was drinking. And I said, yeah, I had a few drinks, like just in the passing, but I knew I was pretty sober and I knew I could pass a breathalyzer. In New York, they give you the breathalyzer. What's that?
They do not give you the breathalyzer first in New York. I can attest to this.
First off, don't ever do what Justin did and say, yes, officer, I've had a few drinks. Do what there's a couple of good lawyers that every now and then pop on Reddit. They're called shut the fuck up Fridays. What do you say? You shut the fuck up. You don't say anything. Make them do it.
No, they say, have you had anything to drink tonight? What do you say? Because just staring back at them blankly.
I'm not here to talk about my day, officer.
I keep work at work.
Well, either
I'm not here to talk about my day.
But
is that really what you're supposed to say?
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Either way,
seriously, watch those videos.
All right.
I'm curious. Maybe we'll bring them up in a future episode because I am curious. But I said, yeah, I had a few drinks, and they're like, okay, step out of the car. I was like, well, I'm not intoxicated. And then they got like a bit more aggressive, and I was kind of.
That's exactly what an intoxicated person would say.
Fair enough. And then I did this field sobriety. I'm like, are we good? And they're like, hold on a second. She like talked to somebody. And I knew the field sobriety test went fine. And they're like, no, you have to come with us. And I was like, what at what point was that not a perfect sobriety test, like the alphabet backwards? Because that was a tough one.
I couldn't do it. I can't
do it.
Not smoothly.
I guess we're drinking now. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Bad sample.
But either way, I was like, guys, I feel that.
Hold on. Here's the cheat code for the alphabet backwards. Z-A.
That's the cheat code.
Abbreviated version.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't. I don't think that works. I didn't get that. It didn't happen. The trick is to say you drank with supper. I don't think that's the trick. No. Where did I go? I don't remember where that was. Again, this was like 12 years ago. And we got a question about the Negroni recipe. Negroni, if you saw me make it at the beginning, it was 1/3 Campari, 1/3 sweet vermouth, which is the red vermouth you were asking about, and 1/3 tequila. And I topped it off with some
gin.
Grated oranges.
Gin. You said tequila.
Gin.
You did make those strong.
I'm looking at a bottle of tequila. Remember, I told you I'm in the basement down here, and
You're thinking about brunch.
I got 5 boxes of bottles of liquor, and there's a tequila bottle and a triple sec bottle and an empty bottle of Bullet bourbon over there. So it's just, I don't know, it's staring at me. I think it's whispering my name. All right, let's see what else I want to. So again, on the day drinking, I did a poll on Instagram, and out of over 300 people, just over 300 people, came back 78% classy, 22% trashy. So I think day drinking definitely on the classier side. I think it also depends on what you're drinking. If it's 2 shots of tequila with brunch, that's
classy.
Probably okay, unless it depends on how you define brunch.
Well, I think we decided that is your brunch.
Well,
James and I think. So what are your thoughts on brunch? Because James and I both despise brunch.
Brunch is a dumb concept.
It's very stupid.
Okay, well, I've not been
counterpoint.
I've not been one for brunch. I've always said, it's dumb to go out at 11 o'clock in the morning and just get trash because you'd be passed out, from 2:30 until 7, and then that's the end.
Let me clarify. I'm not upset about going out and drinking at 11. I just think it's a stupid meal. Go out and drink, have fun. That's cool too. Go to a beer garden, drink a bunch of beer, watch some soccer, watch some football. Do that on a Sunday. Don't
you know what bothers me even more than the concept of brunch is the verbalization of brunch.
Okay, fair enough. But hear me out on this. When I was talking earlier about sport drinking or drinking as a pastime, I was thinking you start, and I like to go out, and you wake up, you're a little hungover on a Sunday morning. It was a rough Saturday night. You go out, you got to get some coffee, little Bloody Mary action, because obviously you live in New York City and you don't have a lot of ingredients in your refrigerator. So you got to go out, you got to get something to eat. You want to get some of the drinks. You get a Bloody Mary, you hang around at the bar, you get another Bloody Mary, you get some food. That's like your lunch, but it's kind of brunch, and you can still get away with some waffles or some shit. And also you're hungover as fuck. So you're not worried about calories. So you can do some fried chicken and waffles or whatever the fuck you want at that point.
How much are you eating?
Well, you had the Bloody Marys. You haven't had anything else, and then you get whatever you want. And again, you're trying to cure this hangover. And then and then maybe after this, you go somewhere else. You stop for a cup of coffee. You do a little bar hopping. Now it's Sunday afternoon. You got work tomorrow, so you're kind of miserable about that. So you have a few more drinks. And you go home.
And then you're hungover on Monday.
Well, you're going to work anyways. Who the hell cares? that's my thing on it, at least.
Yeah.
All right.
Then you have a Bloody Mary before you go to work on Monday.
So I was in the bar last week for lunch, and because I needed to get out of the office, and there's no
liquid lunch.
Well, no, yeah, effectively, but there's no restaurants. there's no restaurants open. Usually there's a gazillion restaurants. You get some food, but I was like, where am I going to go? The place I wanted to go to had closed, so I'm walking on the block. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to drop into this Irish bar, get like a burger and some fries, I ended up getting a salad, and I ordered 2 beers, and then the bartender bought me another beer after I settled the check, and then he got me a shot of whiskey after that, and I was like, oh, all right, that was way more than I 2 beers. I think with lunch is fine, but 3 beers and a shot of whiskey was like, all right, I may need to take a little nap when I get back to work. But it's an empty Irish bar on a dead block because there's only homeless people injecting heroin into their eyeballs at this point in New York City.
You don't want those nasty train marks. Maybe.
So, but I missed what you said, David. Hold on a second, though. Actually, go ahead.
No, eyeballs is good. You don't want those nasty marks on your arm. I know. I've got this one. It just looks really bad. I can't even pick the right spot to do it.
You totally missed the main man.
I was 6 inches off.
So I'm watching the TV, and I didn't think much of it at the time. I did take a picture of the TV because I thought it was I didn't exactly know what the article was about, but apparently the mayor of New York, everybody knows New York is basically dead at this point. There's nothing going on in New York City. There's no restaurants. There's no bars. They're increasing the capacity for basically the leftover restaurants, like the ones that, have been getting by making no money for years. So they just continue to get by making no money for the last year, basically. But there was a whole bunch of people dancing in the streets, and de Blasio saying, yeah, we understand the city is in rough shape, so we're combating this with dancing. Which
That'll work.
And it was really, and we were talking earlier about the guy who got shot in California, the dog walker, but it was about like open culture and accepting different sexualities and stuff. And I think if you're in New York City and you're not accepting of different people's gender preference or whatever it is, like you're in the wrong city, bro. Like just
pick the wrong place.
Unless you're there for the heroin, like you got to be accepting. But it had something to do with open culture, and I couldn't see. And I read some of this article. It didn't make any sense to me. Basically, somehow the mayor has decided that the city is going to stand up for itself and revive itself by having people dance in the streets or something. I don't understand how that's helping business.
Are the heroin users going to be like, Matt, this was a really good street to do heroin, but now with all these people dancing, it just ruins the mood.
I could that's probably the only angle where I could see that having people dancing in the streets would help at all.
Well, if he's trying to revitalize the city, there are certain forms of dancing that are very lucrative. So I can see where he's going from that standpoint.
Don't those tend to attract more heroin?
No, they can't afford it. Like you can't afford a stripper habit and a heroin habit. You have to be pretty well off. And usually that's cocaine and stripper habit. You don't see too often mix with a heroin.
Well,
it's more cocaine and meth. I
can't imagine that you could dance too well on heroin.
No, I mean someone who is a purveyor of exotic dancers. Usually they will be more attracted to the stimulants than they would be a smack user.
I think,
but sometimes you need to cut the edge.
All right, so I got let me just kind of hit the note. So I got drinking as a sport / pastime. I got the Lady Gaga's dogs being abducted, and they shot me in my leg hard, which I'm coming around.
It's getting funnier. It is getting funnier.
Because you didn't drink that much. But.
Hold on, I've got a really quick aside. So before the game starts today, I'm working with two guys that I know pretty well. Both of them are solid referees, and I've known them for a while. And I was telling them about how like things suck for me right now because I'm working in the office and I got this buying the house thing and everything. And one of the guys is like, "Yeah, like you're starting to become an adult, Boswell." And I said, "No." I said, "I'm 35 and I still laugh when people say balls."
Kicked in the balls. Actually, I got a funny story.
The word balls.
This is Scott Hastings' story, and I just realized
a funny word.
I made reference to it, but we.
Oh boy.
Scott and I, we do some work on that. We used to do a lot of mechanical work in the garage, and then we take the cars out for a test drive. And we grew up kind of in the mountains, so we drive. We basically, we didn't know if the car is mechanically sound, but we just decided that we would take it racing through the mountains as a test drive. So we did this a lot.
That's how you find out if the car is mechanically sound.
But one day we decided
and if not, you have the entire rest of your life to figure it out.
I mean, we one time we had a breakdown. We fixed I'm changing stories here. Let me just touch this. We had a breakdown. We were fixing the brakes. The car ran out of gas. So we're walking back to the house to get a different car to bring a can of gas back out. And it was only I think at this point, we were probably about 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles out on North Lake. You guys know North Lake Drive? We're down on North Lake. We ran out of gas. We're walking back. Now, if you guys know me, I go barefoot a lot. And we're walking back barefoot. And the cops stop us. And they're like, where are you boys going? Oh, we ran out of gas down the street, so we're just walking back to. And they're like, "What do you mean you ran out of gas? You don't have any shoes on?"
Yeah, what do you think I can afford gas?
Well, I didn't quite see the parallel between like having shoes and running out of gas.
I think there's a perfect parallel.
Well, either way, I didn't want to wear shoes. We ran out of gas. They just harassed the hell out of us, and they were like, "All right, acceptable answers." We moved, and they drove off. But what I mean, if you were a cop, like, where the fuck else you have to do? You're in the countryside. Give us offer us. I mean, I'm not comfortable asking a cop for a ride home.
Yeah, just be happy you weren't black in that situation.
I can
very
only
south for
I
you.
can only imagine. Yeah, I heard about this guy harassed
in Texas,
walking in the
teenager
snow.
walking back from his job from Walmart because you couldn't drive. There was no public transport. He went in to do his job, and he gets harassed and arrested. They dropped the charges, but still.
Yeah. And he was also
walking
wearing
on
short sleeve shirt. Yeah. But
yeah,
I mean, I guess if you're in Texas, like, you probably don't own a down parka. So
and also you did live in upstate New York and you only ever wore shorts. So how is that something to judge?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let me finish my story because I went on a tangent here. Either way, the one thing we used to take the cars for drives to make sure they were mechanically sound. I did that with the Jeep in South Carolina, except I returned the car, never tightened the lug nuts. My bad. Different story. So we're driving out to the country, and Scott goes, I know somebody that lives around here. Cool guy. He kind of keeps himself. I think he's retired. He made some decent money in his life. He's got his own plane, like all this stuff. So again, we don't come from a very rich area, but a guy that's got his own plane and he's got, I don't know, 15, 20 acres of his own land. He lives and he's retired. The guy's telling us a story and he said, something along these lines, like, I got this nice car. I was driving through the city. I parked, got out of the car. Somebody tried to mug me. He took out like a chain or a bat or something like that. I thought at this point, like, this is it. This is it. So the guy comes to attack him. And we're just, it's an old guy, long beard, long white hair. And we're like, this old motherfucker is getting attacked by some gangster with a chain or a bat or something. And we're like, well, what did you do? He goes, I kicked him in the balls. Which, he goes,
simple and effective.
And then I jumped
out your plans.
I jumped in the car and got the fuck out of there. But either way, on the balls topic, when you said balls makes you laugh, anytime I hear balls, I just think of this guy. His name is Tom Trombley. He goes, I kicked him in the balls. And I got in the car and drove the hell out of there.
I just had to respond to him like, yeah, you're becoming an adult. No, I'm not.
All right. No, of course not.
I'm 14 and this is funny.
Yes.
James still looks like he's 14. So props for that. All right. So then we hit the de Blasio. I'm just running through the rest of my list here. We hit the de Blasio.
Spread the word at all the local high schools, I guess.
The de Blasio pushing dancing, as some type of solution to the city being in peril. I got Tiger Woods and
is that his re-election campaign?
Dude,
that's like let them eat cake.
I think Andrew Yang actually has a chance.
I hope he does. I love him.
I don't necessarily. Well, I don't know enough about.
De Blasio is very much right now becoming the Dane Cook of mayors. Fuck governing. I just want to dance.
There we go.
Yeah, it's really a shame because I mean I remember
we've got all these theater people that haven't been able to work for the last 12 months. They got to dance somewhere. We might as well have them dance the heroin addicts off the streets.
I'll tell you
two problems with one: employing the theater people.
Look, you got two types of super liberals. You got the teachers, generally very liberal, and then you have the theater crowd, also very liberal. I can tell you one thing though: teachers do not want schools to reopen. The theater crowd desperately wants theater to reopen. And that's a rough industry. Those guys are getting fucked.
Does the theater crowd want schools to reopen?
Who the fuck?
Well, schools are a super complex issue because think about our school back at Tamarack. We had 85 kids per grade. That's still 500 kids from 500 families, at least in the middle and high school, coming in every single day. That's a huge amount of exposure. So I'm not saying that we definitely need to open schools. The effects that this is having on working families, single parents that are trying to do a job and have to have their kids in school, kids are being left behind. That's not to say that the teachers' union's concerns aren't legitimate. They need to figure this shit out, and I'm not smart enough to figure it out for them.
Well, I think shutting down schools. Most other countries did not shut down schools.
A lot of countries did actually.
Every country shut down schools.
No, I don't.
Pretty much every single country.
I'm pretty sure in Europe they did not shut down schools.
Mm.
We can look this up, but I'm pretty sure Europe didn't shut down schools. But either way,
They
kids
did actually.
kids don't. Well, are you googling this?
I will.
But I'm sure they're not. They can't still be shut down. Either way.
No, because Europe did like lockdowns and shit better than we did.
Well, I mean, we can't do shit. So people think the snow is fake. I mean,
Oh my God, that is so depressing.
All right, let me just hit the rest of my list, and we can shoot the shit if you want. But I got one more that's a good one, and it's only because I drove by a taxi yesterday. And
Here, real quick, headline from January 16th, 2021. Europe schools are closing again on concerns they spread COVID-19. So again implies that it happened at least once.
all right, I'm gonna make my my second cocktail here just to shoot the shit with you guys. I got a good one to share with you. I got a really good one to share with you. And you probably, because you don't have as much of a presence of taxi cabs in Charleston, South Carolina, and in Sacramento, we have obviously a gazillion taxi cabs in Manhattan and the surrounding boroughs. I love a nice yellow taxi ride. I like being able to just walk outside, put your hand up in the air. Somebody picks you up and they just say where to, and you get there. It's very nice.
Whenever I see a taxi, I say, "Oh, that's a taxi." Huh.
But as in they don't
still
So few and
exist?
far between. Yeah.
know.
Phone booth?
So yeah, phone booth. Oh my God, that's a place where just
Public bathroom?
yeah, a phone booth in New York City is legitimately.
Excuse me.
I mean, broad daylight, just homeless people taking shits in the telephone booth. It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Yo, at least they've got the pride to do it in a booth. San Francisco, that shit is not even inside of a TV glass structure. There's no.
You know what happened? It continues to it happened it happened twice, but from talking from the staff, it's not the only two times it's happened. Somebody continues to shit on the side entrance of the Starbucks that I frequent. So not the main entrance, but there's like a side exit, which is the exit I always use and probably half their clientele use.
Not anymore.
Yeah, and it's just constant. And the thing is, like, it's fucking disgusting. People are fucking animals. And I mean, I'm like, shoot the dog, and I'm like, I didn't want.
Oh, it's the worst.
I didn't want to say that because it sounded mean. I'm just like, these guys should just be rounded up on leashes and put in the fucking kennel. They're fucking animals. It's disgusting. I get it. Like, you're homeless, you got to shit, but most of these people, it's
The
usually,
corner.
it's mental health issues, and I don't know. It's being very poorly. The mental health of the citizens is not in good shape. Either way, let me finish this taxi thing. So I just love the ingenuity of taxi drivers, because now they've sectioned off. A lot of these guys have like this weird plastic wrappy type divider, plastic vinyl divider between the front and the back. And because a lot of these cabs don't have vents to the back of the cab gets hot. So what they've done is, your dryer has like that little, it almost looks like it's made out of aluminum foil, but it's like the vent to go outside. So they have these, they must have bought them at Home Depot for like $9, and they have them duct taped to the vents in the center console over the radio. And then they have this big silver tube, and then it goes and it's duct taped to a hole in the vinyl sheet, this plastic wrap sheet, to pump cool air or warm air maybe into the back of the cab. And it's kind of the most derelict, rigged up system that you could imagine. But they're doing it. And I see it on a regular basis. It's just funny. It's a funny thing to look at.
On the subject of taxis, I saw something really quite stupid. Lyft is going to be exploring a ride hailing feature where you can make a phone call to have someone come pick you up. And it's just funny how it's gone kind of full circle of,
it really
you don't
has.
want to have to basic phone call. You can just do this on your phone. You don't have to talk to anyone okay, you can make a phone call. Funny to me.
Here's the thing.
No, it
because
very much should be.
I feel bad for these families. Most of them are immigrant families who have bought into the taxi cab business. In New York City, to get a yellow cab, you have to buy a medallion, which basically is like a license effectively on top of your commercial driver's license for taxis. It's effectively a license to drive a yellow taxi cab, and they've gone for $1 million plus.
Not anymore.
Well, not neat. So, but the problem is you've now financed a $1.5 million asset that is not worth $1.5 million, and it's not making you the money that it used to make you. That's the issue, and that's why I say I feel bad. And a lot of these are struggling families who came here, they invested in this, they pooled funds, and now they're fucked. But the reason they're fucked, and the reason the yellow cab industry is down, is because we have Lyft and we have Uber, and I don't know what's another one. Via. I use Via in New York City. Yeah, there's Get, and there's like one or two more. I don't know.
New York City has way more options than a lot of places. So,
but either way, they don't require the medallion.
We have car sharing services, but not rent, not different like
but
ride
Uber,
shares.
but effectively different versions of Uber.
Yeah.
And
who knew that like an industry that suddenly has to face competition might buckle under the pressure?
Well, but here's the issue: is that the city mandated that they get these silver license tags, the medallions that go on the hood of their car.
Yeah, they falsely restricted supply.
And they don't do that for the other ride sharing services, which I think is the biggest issue. I think if the city is going to allow Uber drivers, then they need to basically buy back the medallions they sold to cab drivers, or they need, and I'm actually almost more for this. I'm not quite sure. I need to understand a little bit more about the economics of this, but requiring that anybody that picks people up has to pass some test, or more than just a generic license that you're registered for. And basically,
2 points.
Go ahead.
I'd like to see if they would leverage a tax on the rideshare services in New York City to subsidize the immigrant families that, like you said, pooled their funds together to do the medallions. Because, like you said, I mean, they paid $1.5 million. They don't go for $150,000 these days, because why would you pay $150,000 for? You don't need it. You can do it through the app.
When you can fucking lease a Toyota Camry or
$15,000
through the app. You can actually do it through their companies. The second point is London has a really interesting taxi market where they've completely blocked all that shit out. They have the thing called the knowledge that every black cab taxi driver has to pass. They've shown through studies that the hippocampus, the area responsible for learning in your brain, actually grows as these taxi drivers do this, and they have to pass it, and it knows every single street.
The knowledge is really hard to pass.
All right. So to clarify, what David's talking about is, in order to drive a taxi in London, you have to pass a test called the knowledge. And the knowledge is effectively a geography test. You're tested on the roads and different routes and what's the fastest route.
You pretty much have to memorize an entire map of London.
Yeah, you have to. And what else is on the knowledge? Can you search that real quick, James? What's on the knowledge test? And but I think the medallion idea is a similar barrier of entry into the taxi cab business. But I give props to the London government for having done this. And I think, and also for blocking the Ubers, but I think that they should just make the Uber drivers have to pass this as well. And it's going to slow down. You're still allowing for new technology, but it's not flooding the market with it. And it's kind of leveling off the competition. But for the
Here's a major difference.
Go ahead.
Here's a major difference I see between the United States and several European countries. England, with London, you have the black taxi cabs. In France, they don't like megamarts. You don't have major grocery stores that have a pharmacy in them. You have bakeries, you have pharmacies, you have wine shops, you have cheese shops. You don't get all your shit in one place. And that's by law. It's by law that you can't have a pharmacy inside of a bigger supermarket. It's by law that you can't get. So we complain about Main Street getting trampled all the time. I mean, we all know it's all of our own fault. I'm as guilty of as anyone. Is I just bought a shit ton of stuff on Amazon because I couldn't be bothered to try and source it locally. Where the hell would I get all these disparate things in Sacramento when things are shut down? I don't know, but I'm not helping.
You'd also be dumb as fuck not to. It would be dumb as shit to go to 6 different places to get something you could walk down 6 different aisles of Walmart for. It's harder.
Have you ever seen that movie where Walmart basically it's just like the shit on Walmart movie? James, I think we watched that.
Wally?
No, not Wally. It's called like the Walmart movie, and it's a documentary, and it just talks about how Walmart goes into these different towns and areas and destroys the local economy in two ways. One, it puts everybody out of business, and then two, they hire everybody who's been working for these businesses or out of the town. Now everybody works at Walmart, but because of their pay structure, nobody's full time, nobody has benefits. They're all working part time. They're all working shit hours. They don't have benefits. And then not only does it put all the businesses out of business, but it fucks the income of everybody that lives in this town as well. And I mean, that's true. Like, that's the market.
Back in Brunswick, we had the Walmart major center there. They wanted to build a super center less than
Like
half
across
a
the
mile
street.
down the road, across the street in a protected wetlands
Yep.
area.
And what did they do?
Really?
They turned this protected wetland in. They like doubled down. They're like, this is a very special wetland. So they put a road into the wetland where you can park and stand and look at.
Oh yeah. You're totally right.
It's not much to look at. It's not much. It's basically just like a brown swamp.
Yeah, it's nothing special.
It's
it's very protected. Let's pave a roadway into it so we can see it better with our cars.
Yep.
It's. I mean, nobody goes there unless it's 2:00 in the morning. They're trying to get some ass. Although they're probably not, because
No, there's better places like River Road.
There's a deep story there. Yeah, almost. All right.
I'm glad that one landed.
Welcome, Doria, to the podcast. And thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. We kind of ran with it, and I think we hit some cool topics. But the knowledge.
We got any comments to respond to?
I do, but I think we're gonna skip the last couple of them. Not related. James, did you pull up the knowledge? Can you do a better job describing the knowledge?
So the knowledge is, I don't remember the exact area, but basically within a 6 mile radius of what's called the center of London, every street within a 6 mile radius of whatever point they pick, well, it's the same point, but like some point in London they pick as a center point, 6 mile radius around it. You are responsible for knowing every single thing on that street. You need to know which ways the street runs, the fastest way to get from one street to another street. You need to know which streets are dead ends. You need to know every single shop, every single restaurant, every single landmark, everything on that street. An example would be like there was a 1 foot tall statue that a driver was asked about and said, hey, where's this statue? What street is it on? Where is it? Where is it on that street? What laundromat is on such and such a street? What are the streets that you're going to take from Cherryshire Boulevard to Hampton upon Northram Street?
I like
or whatever. And you're going to go from here to here to here to here. Yeah, exactly. But it's about 25,000 streets that you need to memorize, because when you take the test, it's not like a written test or anything. You're basically in an interview, and the person's just going to say, "Oh, what's on that street? If I wanted to find this particular laundromat, where is it? I want to go to this pub, and I'm here. How do I get there?"
But I think
they just grill you.
I think that's really good to know. When I get in a taxi cab and I tell the guy where I want to go and he puts it into GPS, I'm just like, no, you're going to go this way, and you're going to do this. But when the driver obviously doesn't know where we're going, I'm just like, I have made a very bad mistake. Can I get in a different cab?
It's too late.
But it's too late. So I've been in cabs in London, and I like the cabs in England way better than the cabs in New York. Also, the cabs in New York City, this is probably the biggest reason why. Well, it should be the biggest reason why people use things like Uber. Uber is newer cars and they're in good shape. The yellow cabs are cabs that are basically shared by the medallion holders 24, like around the clock. They're traded off. So the car
never stop running.
They never stop running, and they are disgusting.
That's the thing. You have a distinct difference in service between Uber and Lyft and what you think of as a yellow taxi cab.
Yeah, but you've
South Park
you've
again,
created a
great social
barrier.
commentary.
But you've created a barrier.
They create a barrier.
entry for yellow cabs and not for the other companies. And
I
then,
get that.
so,
But if the pricing were the same, people would, and just assume the barrier to entry are the same. Assuming that, not saying that that's not unfair, but if yellow cabs were $3 and Ubers were $8, I bet today people would still pay $8 for the Uber because it's cleaner in there, because it's their own personal cars most of the time.
yeah, but I was doing $5 door to door for a ride share, or I was doing $12 by yellow cab. And I usually do the yellow cab because it was faster, but it was also dirtier, and it wasn't that much faster because I didn't go that far. The other thing I was going to add is I was in Tokyo and took a cab from the airport, and these cabs were old, like 80s looking cars, but they looked like they were just out of the showroom, in perfect condition. The seat covers were like knit doily seat covers, like pure white, very, very clean, super clean. Like somebody must have cleaned these cars with a Q-tip. And when I got to the hotel, the bill was like $380. So,
Yeah, you fucked up.
yeah. Also, where did I go? Oh, I think I was in.
It's pretty intuitive.
I think I was in France, and I got off the airplane. I was at the airport, and I walked out, and I didn't have any cash. I mean, I didn't have any. I think at the time they must have been using pounds, but I didn't have any cash. I only had U.S.
You're
dollars.
using pounds in France.
That's
your first problem.
I'm sorry.
They've always been such great allies.
Euros. My bad. Sorry. I was using. So it was franc, and then it was euro. It's never been pounds in France. Pounds is England, and will always be England now that they're out.
It was Reichsmarks for a little bit there.
Yeah, short Vichy.
Okay. I don't know how the fuck weird shit how your currency changes. But,
Easy in World War II. I didn't have much say in the matter, really.
But I went to a couple of different cabs, and I had this guy. They didn't speak much English. I mean, you're a cab driver at the airport. It's one thing if you work at the airport, you're expected to speak, maybe a little English, but the cab drivers didn't speak any English. So I got in the cab. I only had a credit card. So I'm like, credit card, and they're like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, Visa, MasterCard, and they're like, Visa. Like they assumed I meant like passport Visa.
Did you just hold up the credit card?
Ultimately, yes, but it took me. I went to like 3 or 4 different cabs having this conversation.
This should have taken you 3 or 4 cabs to come up with this concept.
Well, it was.
This is really on you.
It was trial and error, and I had just got.
What did you try before that?
Mostly air.
Mostly air. All right, guys. Let's wrap up. I don't even know what we're going to call this episode, but it's been fun. Thank you guys for joining for some drinks. Thank you guys for watching. If you're watching on TikTok, don't forget to. On TikTok, you can give gifts. You can also give diamonds. I don't know the utility of that, but if you're watching on TikTok, don't forget to throw some diamonds our way. If you're watching on Instagram, make sure you follow the SipTalk at SipTalk Pod because we're building up that Instagram page. I'm going to share with you guys the SipTalk Pod Instagram page. And if you're watching us post-production on YouTube, thank you. Don't forget to comment and like that. And if you're listening to us, please rate us 5 stars, even if you don't like us. And if you don't like us, how have you gotten this far into the podcast?
We don't even like us at this point.
I did not like the multicolors coming out of David's screen. That was some trip. I don't know what. I don't understand the utility that has. You just I don't know what you're smoking over there, man.
I think you do. I think you do.
All right, guys. I will catch you later.
All right, laters.
Adios. All right, that concludes this episode. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe, rate this podcast, and I will thank you. That's all I got. See you next time.
I like PBR. I just got priced out of it.